Hello! Happy Sunday! We're talking about more predictions from the experts this week. You know how they always like to give their predictions. So they have some predictions for the second half of the real estate market. And I have my own predictions because the jobs market came out and it's already still good. So we'll talk about that a little bit further. But this week, I'm super excited. I have a guest on. You guys probably know, but I haven't had him on in forever. He's kind of been lurking in the shadows, but he's ready to come back. And I'm very excited. Everybody welcome with a big round of applause, Javier Vidana. See, it was a round applause. You see? Oh,
I'm just
muted.
kidding.
I knew you were going to do that. Same joke. You're like a dad.
Oh, man. Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. I appreciate it.
Of course. It's so good to see you. I'm so glad you're back.
I know, right? Because, I mean, I have been kind of half budding videos, but haven't really been clicked into the YouTube scene that much. So
you've been doing family stuff, though. That's
what people say. But reality is just, other reasons. What's going on, everybody?
There's 77 people on here, and everybody's excited that you're here. Yep. Hello from Arizona. People they know you, dude. They know you. You may have taken a little like schnoozeville in that YouTube land. People still remember you. You're not forgotten.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. So I sent you an article a couple days ago, and it came from Investopedia. Not like that's like the biggest real estate source for information, but this was a pretty decent article that was talking about the second half of the housing market. So Eddie's going to pull that up on the screen, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it, Javi. What to expect from the housing market in the second half of 2023. All right. It's by Meg Cunningham. She put it out on July 4th. Here we go. Eddie's going to scroll down for us. All right. The outlook of the housing market in the second half of the year comes down to two familiar words: mortgage rates. In the first half, rates kept housing in the state of suspended animation as borrowing costs priced out prospective buyers, while homeowners with mortgage rates of 3% or less are unwilling to sell and face having to borrow for their next home, that some is getting closer to 7%. All right, Eddie, scroll past the takeaways, blah, blah, blah. All right. Despite high demand and home prices, they are now starting to fall. The market is still relatively sluggish at this point in the year with historic peaks. While the new construction is rising to meet some of the demand for single-family homes, it won't be enough to meet the current market needs. You are in Arizona. You see a lot of new construction. What do you think about this so far?
I think every time I read an article, it's like, oh, what side are you on? Are you trying to scare people, or are you trying to encourage people? And I think I'm holding my opinion till I get to the like middle end, because I'm like, okay, sometimes they set you up and they make it sound a certain way, and then they whack you. So I'm going to keep listening to you read.
Okay. So what can your homebuyers expect for the latter half of 2023? While the Federal Reserve is expected to continue to raise rates throughout the end of the year, industry leaders foresee mortgage rates dropping and home buying subsequently, I got that right word, picking up as home prices fall to affordability improves. Okay, I have to stop right here real quick, Eddie, because this is one of those things. Home prices have not dipped enough to make affordability. So their whole thing, they keep saying, well, if the mortgage rates drop, that means that there increases affordability. Home prices are extremely high. Like homes that before the pandemic that were at 200,000 are now at 400,000. It doesn't matter if the interest rate's at zero. They can't afford that. That payment is going to be too high. The only way I feel like we can get out of this is more home construction for more affordable homes. To this day, I don't know if you're like this, but to this day, anything that's below that median range in your area is still getting price bidding awards. That's what we get. If you have a low income or lower than the median cost home in your areas, it's still getting a lot of traction on it.
Yeah, that's the problem in itself, and you hit the nail on the head with the affordable housing right now, because now there's always a starter range home, And right now in Phoenix, the starter range is like mid 300s to early 400, like low 400s. So that's a payment about mid $2,000. So the problem is, the people keep talking about, the rates need to go lower, and if they go lower, but people are also saying if they do go lower, it's going to affect things. Honestly, the people that are already priced out are priced out regardless if the rates drop down to 5 points. There's already a large group of people that have been priced out. So
Correct.
the rates need to reduce, not to bring people in, because there's already a huge issue with, in my opinion, investors completely just ruined it for everybody when they came in. Because guess what? Investors are not buying like higher tier houses or luxury houses. Investors are buying those first time home buyer houses. So they've already came in, they've driven prices up for the last few years. And now we need to reduce the rates to empower the buyers that are buying, but also to empower the other people to actually make the move. Because the reality is there's a lot of people that can no longer afford in main cities. They need to get out. They need to go to other smaller cities. They need to be encouraged to kind of spread the wealth around the country. And that way we can stop like hyper fixating in certain cities and kind of spread it out.
I concur. All right, I pulled that article up. We're still reading there. Hello from Austin, Texas. And she is so right. Thank you, Madeline. Thank you. All right, Eddie, pull that article back up for us, please. I appreciate it. You're singing my song, by the way. You pretty much echo what I always say. All right, still few here. The Federal Reserve is signaled that more rate hikes may be in store for the end of the year, but once the hike rates slow or stop, affordability concerns will slow and start to ease. I disagree with it. I'm going to tell you right now, every time the job market comes out, the Federal Reserve cringes because their expectation with increasing the rate every time, they're expecting the jobs market to tank. Matter of fact, Jerome Powell had said that he was wanting to eliminate 1 million jobs, and he wanted to eliminate 1 million more. Their hope is that we suffer so that the economy can get back on track. But it's not working the way that they anticipated with the raising of rates. They wanted jobs to be like a good portion of jobs to be eliminated. That didn't happen. He even said at that time, once people lose their job, more people lose their job, affordability in the housing market will return. Nobody's losing their job. Not enough people are losing their job, and affordability isn't there. His plan was to make people suffer enough that they couldn't pay their mortgage, so they would have to sell their house, and then it would make it more affordable to everybody else that could afford a home. Terrible plan, by the way. Anyways, it means that affordability will start to improve, but not drastically. I don't believe that. Experts see mortgage rates heading for a more stable path as inflation is expected to continue to cooling, as mortgage rates are expected to decline. Another peak anticipated for June, but Hale predicts that it could be a final uptick before conditions begin to even out. If the interest rates continue to go down, what happens with home prices in the smaller home sector when interest rates go down? What happens?
Well, they say that when the interest rates go down, that they get more competitive, and that brings up values.
Yeah, exactly. When you have lower interest rates, that all it does.
But do you think that will happen though this time around?
And I don't think for the bigger houses. I don't think that for those big mansion houses, I don't think that's going to happen because there's so many. They've built so many over the last since the last housing crash. The only houses they've really been building are those really huge houses. They haven't been building the smaller ones. Those smaller ones are the ones that are going to hit the hardest.
Yeah.
Yeah, with increased in rate, but those bigger houses are the ones that are going to have to take a price reduction, not those little baby houses, which we need. We think that June will be another temporary peak in mortgage rates, and we'll see them gradually ease to 6.7% range. Then been recently down to the near sixes at the end of the year, like hovering around 6. Hale said. So they were saying 5%. Remember, they were saying, by the end of this year will be 5%. Now they're saying 6. The evening out around 6 will help home buyers who have been waiting on the sidelines to re-enter the market, according to the National Association of Realtors, Lawrence Hune. But it will not be enough to ease the lack of inventory just yet. That's the problem. Why home prices have not dropped drastically like the housing crash bureaus kept saying. We do not have enough inventory. This is the same thing I've been saying for the last 2.5 years. If you're expecting a big crash in the housing market, there isn't enough houses on the market, and there isn't enough foreclosures. And if you think the Airbnb is going to save you, it's not. Like, we just don't have enough homes. All right, that will be the boost in both the housing demand and supply. But for homeowners who have mishoused, i.e., the new child in the family, new job, another part of town, but are unwilling to sell due to the locked-in rates, the cost to move may become less costly with falling mortgage rates. Oh, so because of falling mortgage rates, that's going to make people move. Oh, I don't know. Yoon said that in a statement provided to Investopedia. What do you think? Oh, thank you, Mike, for becoming a new member. You get a nice little emblem whenever you're in the live stream that everybody knows that you're a valued member to the channel. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Welcome to the family.
Yes, welcome to the family.
Those $5 you're taking from me for the last 2 years, I still am a member.
Do you know? Is he a member of your channel?
Well, I was a member. Yeah, I don't know. I think actually I'm not anymore. I think.
I'm still a member of your channel. All right. So here's the thing. I think the Fed is going to raise rates one more time. And I don't think mortgage interest rates are going to fall in line like they think. I do not believe that they're going to go in the sixes. I think by the end of the year, we're going to be high again. That's what I think. What do you think, Javier?
I hope so. I mean, there's a lot of people that agree with you that saying that we might even go to 8. But I really hope that we're down to 6. Like I said, it's like the rates need to. I don't know what needs to happen anymore, but I know that right now the people that are actually looking, because there's still a lot of people looking to buy, would feel better if those rates were to cool down a bit, and it would probably encourage more people to buy. And then hopefully it would then encourage more people to move, and it'll just create a positive chain effect. But, that's big positive. You're probably right. It'll probably go up to mid 7s or 8.
I wanted to, I'm noticing in the comments, I'm reading off to the side that some people have been bringing up Airbnbs, and I've spoken about this, but I want to have your take on what Airbnbs are. I wonder if we're on the same page. So go ahead.
Oh, sure.
Because everybody's like, oh, this is going to take the housing market. So what is your take on this?
First off, I hate Airbnbs in general. I remember they used to be great like a few years ago, and then now it's like, first of all, they're looking at me naked through private cameras. Secondly, like it's just like, what's up with these $300, $400 cleaning fees? Like, I might as well go to a hotel, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that, and then like I live in an area that's behind an Airbnb, in front of an Airbnb, and next to an Airbnb. So I hate Airbnbs. That being said, I think it's great that there's going to be a lot of people that invested into them that are now going to have to eat shit and going to have to sell or figure out another solution because there's too many of them. However, I think the person who made these claims that there's going to be a giant, massive housing crash is the same person that's been making this claims for the last 3 years. So I just always take that with a grain of salt. It's going to affect things, don't get me wrong, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But it's just when someone stands in a soapbox and decides to yell it really loud and causes this commotion, it kind of gets away from the actual message, which is, hey, there might be some new inventory coming in the market. But the problem with that is this: when there is an Airbnb listing, it sells like quick because buyers love Airbnb listings. Every time I've shown one, people are like, this is cleaned every week. All the furniture is usually included. Those things sell so quick and so fast, and they sell for way more. So the fact that there's going to be I would love to get nothing but Airbnb listings because those are super easy to sell, and I think that would be great for the market. But the effect of it has been greatly just
exaggerated,
like on steroids. Like I'm talking like Liver King steroids, is super jacked, like it's like way inflated, not even close to where it's going to actually affect things.
Alex, thank you so much for the $9.99 super chat. I appreciate it. It helps the channel exponentially. If you have a question, please put it in the chat because you just gave me a nice little tip. You didn't want to ask any questions. Yes, I do love affordable housing. So when it comes to the Airbnb thing, I want to circle back to this because I want you like people to pull up the real numbers. I'm not like making this up. Maybe Eddie could do this. But there isn't that many Airbnbs throughout the United States. Like people are expecting it to be, like 5 to 10 million homes that are Airbnbs, and there isn't. Even if there was, a good portion of those Airbnbs are also like really big properties, right? So they're like a 5-bedroom house. So that isn't going to help the affordability crisis, right? And a lot
Well,
of those
yeah.
people, but a
Mhm.
lot of those people also will take those short-term rentals and turn them into long-term rentals. They'll just end up having it instead of like a weekly thing. You can rent it for a month, month to month. They'll do it as a long-term rental or they'll sell it. And if they're the smaller ones, like you said, they'll sell so fast because there isn't those small houses. So I don't think it's going to make I don't think the housing market's going to suffer if a bunch of Airbnbs get on the market. If anything, it's going to help it.
It's fascinating. The housing market crash last time it happened. Who was reporting news? CNN, like the main media, right? There was never maybe independent blogs or something. But if something were to happen and something were to crash or adjust, it would just be so fascinating to look at the real time, because we have like thousands of people wanting so desperately to be the next Michael Burry, to be the one that called the housing market crash before it happened. That there's
Right.
like almost, it's so interesting now. There's so many people trying to call things out, and I think we need to. I mean, home buyers or people just looking into the real estate game, we need to do a better job of looking at the data as it presents itself, instead of focusing on these people that are so desperate to be the next Michael Burry and call the next crash. Because I think we give these people and these headlines too much attention, and we need to be focusing on the data that we have in front of us now when we're making these key decisions.
Agreed. Alex said, I heard cash buyers now make up 40% of the market compared to 20% baseline. Is that an increase in cash buyers or just a huge drop in buyers with a mortgage?
Who said that? My mom.
Alex did.
No, but I mean, who did you hear that from? Because here we've dropped from 28% to like 19%.
I guess like on average. So a third of home buyers are paying cash. A third of home buyers are paying cash. They're still paying cash. Look at that. Look at that. And I want everybody to know, I think more than 50% of the United States actually owns their home outright. Not everybody has a mortgage. People need to be aware of that. Like places like Florida are one of the places I'm concerned with because of their insurance. So many people can't get insurance and it's increased so much. So Redfin says that 33.4% of purchases in April were made up in cash, up from 30.7% a year earlier, in the similar to February 33.5% share. Overall home sales though were down 41% from a year earlier. Earlier in April in a 40 most populous metro areas. Let me just that's kind of weird because they're saying, oh yeah, well, home sales are down. Well, there isn't any inventory for people to buy. That's why their home sales are down. No one's selling. The typical down payment in April was $52,500. Holy cow. Down 18%, the second biggest drop in May of 2020. Who has $52,000 just laying around for a house? I mean, I guess if you're buying your second house, dang, that's a lot of freaking money. But you know what? What is it like? So a 20% down payment on a $400,000 house, because the median's like right under 400,000. Wouldn't that be with the closing costs? Wouldn't that be 52,000? 20%
Yeah.
closing costs? If you guys
Yeah.
can hear, that's rain. My house, like it is pouring.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear it.
It's like the death in Arizona right now. It's just like burning. It's on fire. It's just, you go outside and your lips immediately just dry up and they crack. It's so hot. It's like 115 or something.
We haven't had a rain in a week, so this is like it's. I'm sure it's going to feel like a sauna when I come out of here. It says, question, is it difficult to secure a mortgage on a fixed income like long-term disability or SSDI?
That's a great question. I don't think it's too difficult. I think when I see long-term disability and SSDI, I just see it's like consistent income, which those are the easiest mortgages. The problem is that they don't give you enough to actually be able to afford in a popular area. So as long as you live in an area where houses aren't too expensive, it's an easy loan to do. It's just the affordability that comes with it is the issue.
Yeah, like in the biggest problem for that kind of income, and it's not qualifying. You could probably qualify. It's finding a home in the price range that you would be able to afford it.
Yeah,
that would be the biggest issue.
Qualifying is easy because it's fixed income. It's super easy. Yeah, it's
right.
Man, it's like raining really hard.
Oh, I know. I should open a window so you guys can. One time that I was on here, it was so bad. Like, this is bad, but like, it was so bad I couldn't even hear myself, and I was like, oh my god.
You should just say this is the housing market just crashing down on you.
Yeah, it's the housing market crashing. JK says, JK, that rhymes. Is Baton Rouge real estate market still busy, or is it just starting to slow? Same question for Phoenix. So in Baton Rouge, I would say, in a more level housing market. There's buyers and there's sellers. The problem, of course, is that there isn't enough affordable homes. Some of the homes that would have been considered affordable a few years ago are like really expensive. There's still buyers out there. We don't have a lot of inventory. I would say it's not back to where it was in 2019. That was more level than we are here, but it's definitely a lot slower than it was at the peak during the pandemonium.
Yeah, it's a different kind of busy. It's instead of sprinting, it's more of an endurance run. It's not too crazy, but it's still difficult.
I'm so sorry about the rain noise. There's nothing I can do about that. You got to talk to the weather guy. That's rain. Yeah. Sorry about that.
I don't know. I think you have Eddie just. Oh my God! You just got a giant
$100 super chat. That's from Johnny O. Every week he comes in and supports the channel, and I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Johnny. I'm always flabbergasted when he comes in every week and like drops 100 for me. It's such a nice thing to do. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
His wife is like, why is $400 going to this Kristina Smallhorn every month? What's going on?
Maybe it's his wife. Maybe it's the wife using Johnny O's account. You never know, dude.
Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, so 20% of 400K is $80,000.
So it's 10% down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you were getting an FHA loan with 10% down, that'd be around $52,000. Thank you.
Yeah.
My math. That's why I always send everything to the lender. My math isn't good. If I don't have a calculator in front of me, I'm never going to make it. Never. Did you ever have the teacher who said, you're not going to go walk around with a calculator in your pocket? Every time I pull up my phone, I'm like, remember that, Miss Jackson? Remember that? I have it in my pocket always.
They were wrong.
My son's mother has a question. It says, Social Security is $20,000 in income in Kansas City and Oklahoma. Electricity, no bills. What amount do you guess I qualify for? I'm not a lender. I would not even know. For $20,000 a year?
Is that monthly or yearly? I can tell you. I can tell you what you should budget for, but I don't know what you qualify for.
Right.
$20K a year or monthly?
I'm assuming Social Security is $20K a year.
Okay, so basically what you would do is you get 50% of your monthly gross income, and then you subtract any credit payments you have, which would be zero. So for you, 20,000 divided by 12, that would be half of that would be like 800. So by 833 is what you would qualify for. However, you should budget for you to be around 28% of your gross income. So your budget is probably more like $500 or $600, but you qualify up to 833 around there.
Yeah, so it's a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's tough.
So it's 20K a month. I'll retire. Yeah. That'd be a nice you don't know. Like, so no, yeah, so apparently no car payment. He doesn't have any electricity or anything else.
Yeah, that's gonna be low $100,000 qualification. I think I haven't seen that in a while.
Mm-hmm.
My first house I bought was $80,000 at a $600 payment.
My first house payment was $1,200 because I had a 7.5 interest rate, and I was terrified. I was like, that is so much money. And now that would be like a wish.
Now Johnny sends that to you every week. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. V-Man says, if I had like 50,000 or 100,000 cash, isn't it better to hold on to your cash instead of putting it down on your first house, save it for a rainy day. What do you say?
No, okay. But Paz was about to say, I'm really curious to see what she says. It depends on your philosophy. I would not. So first of all, I would question and say, do you have 50K or 100K cash? Or like, do you not? I want to make sure you have an emergency fund set up first. If you don't have an emergency fund set up, you need to set that up now. So let's say your emergency fund is 6 months reserves. I don't know. Let's imagine it's 20K. So then I would question you and I would say, you don't have 50 or 100K. You have either 30 or 80K because you need to put 20K aside, and that's money you don't touch. Now, that being said, your housing fund is different than your actual entire savings. Whenever someone gives me their entire savings, I'm like, no, I don't want to know about that. Give me your housing fund. So it depends. Like, if that question is based off a principle of you not doing it correctly. I want to know what your housing fund would be and what's your savings you have set up aside from that. But not only that, you need a rainy day, just like you're doing now. You need a rainy day fund aside from your reserve because when you move in, there's going to be repairs that pop up. You need to save at least a month or two just to have. So I would question that whole line of thinking before just answering that. You know what I'm saying?
I used to tell first time home buyers at least have at least about $3,000 to $5,000 off to the side after you move in, because you're going to want a new curtains, you're going to want to repaint, you're going to want a new blinds, you're going to want, you're going to start changing stuff as soon as you move in. As much as you say, no, I love it just the way it is, when you buy a house, especially if someone else has lived in it before, you start changing things pretty quickly. Things that don't, oh look, the rain stopped. Oh, thank God.
Well, you're special because there's a lot of buyers out there that think they're Bob the Builder and they want to remodel everything when they move in, but then they never do anything. So if you actually do change things, you're a special case because not everyone gets around to it.
My first house, that's all Eddie and I did from the time we owned it, was always doing something every freaking
Good for
weekend.
you
There was
guys.
some project, but it like, I was so tired of it. I was like, I want my next house, and I feel like I earned the right. I'm like, my next house, I want it brand new, so I don't have to have a weekend project every single weekend. I am
But
so
it's so
tired.
fun though. It's a part of the fun.
No, the fighting with little children, not good. I don't recommend it.
His name is Eddie, not little children.
No, I mean, like, with little kids around. I mean, we have
I
babies at the
know, I
time.
know.
I was grouting. I was grouting
So
at,
I have a
like,
question for you.
huh.
Okay. So
Mhm,
lately, there's on the Twitter, there's been a lot of people that have been
mhm.
making these like sensational posts about that they're so sick of hearing people say that renting is throwing your money away, and there's been a lot more people championing this idea that
Right.
renting is not throwing your money away, that it's actually empowering. And of
It's
course, realtors
propaganda.
always, yeah, realtors always go, oh, it's crap, right? So what are your thoughts on that?
So I just did a video on Wednesday about this. Matter of fact, Javier, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a new narrative they're trying to feed younger generations, that you don't want to own a home. You never want to own a home because you're going to have to deal with, taxes and repairs and all this stuff. It's such a hassle to own a home. You really don't want a home. And they keep feeding this. They've been doing this quite a bit. Matter of fact, like, if you look at some of the advertising for these build to rent communities, it's really quite disgusting. I feel like I'm in a virtual reality. What With owning a home, you have stability in the fact that that home in just a few years has gained equity. At any time in your life, if you need to borrow against the equity in your house, you're going to be able to do that. There is uh financial stability to have your own place to live. There always is going to be a group of people that never want to own a home, and nor should they be forced to own a home. But there's a good portion right now that would love to own a home. I mean, honestly love to own a home, but the only thing that's available to them is corporate invested owned properties that are build to rent communities. And they're paying like $2,500 in rent to rent the dream instead of own the dream, even though they have the down payment, they have the good income, they have the good credit, but there's nothing in the area for them to buy. But there certainly is for them to rent. Corporate investors have ruined the housing market, and yeah, I think they're selling a new bag of goods to make it more palatable to people. But I think it's all propaganda bull crap.
So you think they're like trying to make it more acceptable so people don't feel, because there's a guilt and shame associated with renting, especially my generation, the people that I'm not I'm like 30, so I'm talking like mid 20s, mid 30s, people that were never able to buy, they have to rent, right? So there's a lot of shame and guilt, so they're trying to empower them to make them feel not too bad.
There's nothing wrong with renting. There's absolutely, I mean, I rented for years, of course. Eddie and I rented. There's nothing wrong with it. What's wrong currently is the fact that they're trying to make this sound better. Like renting is better than owning because you don't have anything to worry about. And that's not the case. Like if they just built affordable homes, because a lot of those homes, they were just brand new built, but they're owned by corporate investors. There are plenty of buyers out there would have loved to bought that. The whole entire subdivisions are made just for rental properties. I guarantee you, if you had taken that whole entire neighborhood and turned it into like a single family dwelling that people could purchase, they would have purchased them. And the article that I highlighted in that last video, the girl said, I was looking for months and months and months. I couldn't find anything to rent. And now, I mean, anything to purchase, even though I have a good job and I have the down payment, there just isn't anything available. So she's stuck in renting because there isn't anything in her area. Nothing. That's messed up. That's messed up. And I think it's by design. Because I mean, like our builders keep complaining like, oh, we just don't, the building materials are too expensive, blah, blah, blah. But they're not too expensive and they have no problem finding land for corporate investors. But they do have to build single family homes for people to purchase. Something's off. Something's off. It's all the design. I think they're purposely trying to make us into a renters nation. I think that's the design. Get my tinfoil hat. That's my tinfoil hat. I think it's by design. Yep. Somebody says the own nothing, be happy crowd. The own nothing, be happy crowd.
Yeah, yep. I get it. And it's tough right now.
It is. That rain stopped. Thank God, man. That was loud. Sorry. I didn't mean for that to happen.
What kind of chair is that? It looks like a marshmallow.
It's like, it's one of those ergonomic chairs, like those ones that when you get to my age, you need things that like have back support and helps your tailbone because the bones are aching. Well, you can't do things as much as you could.
When your age, like 35, 36?
I was told that I was an old hag on my last video. So because I said in my 50 years of life, and the lady's like 50. I thought she was like 60. And I'm like, oh, damn, I hope I look like this when I'm 60. Whatever. People are funny. Byron Thomas said, when you were talking about inventory on the market, are you talking about houses that are listed in the MLS? Yeah. So inventory is the homes that are available, right? So normally this time of year, we have about 6 months supply of homes that would be available. That's how they figure it out. Right. And I think we have less than 2 months supply of homes on the market right now. What do you have?
We are, I think, at 3 last I checked. I can pull it up. Yeah, we're like at 2 or 3. I don't know.
Yeah, like a normal healthy market's just under 6 months supply.
I haven't seen it in a while. That's crazy. Really, 6 months supply? So there's like 5,000 sales and 25,000 listings?
Mm-hmm.
I want to own, yeah. I think most people want to own. Owning equals equity. Yep. That's the thing is, I mean, ownership. We have to also acknowledge that buying a house sucks right now. It's really hard.
It is.
For people that haven't, and it's very difficult and it's very discouraging. And then my thing is, I don't like when people are discouraged from. I mean, first of all the people that got discouraged the last 2 years, they're in a tough spot now because they decided to wait, right? But it is tough and it is difficult, and we need to make it easier to own a house. But at the same time, that involves sellers like having to reduce their equity, which they don't want to do. So we're like in this stalemate right now between buyers and sellers, and it's just nobody wins except the corporations that bought all these houses up over the last 2 years.
The haves and have-nots. Emily Green says, I want to own, but my husband and I can't find jobs to earn enough to buy and own a home. And what's even crazier, Emily? There's people that do have, like, they could purchase the house. They could, and they have excellent credit and everything. They have a down payment. There just isn't anything in their price range. The median price of a home is just under $400,000. That's a lot of money. That's over $250,000. That's a lot of money. And, once the solution that was brought up was a 40-year mortgage, I don't think that's a good idea. How do you feel about a 40-year mortgage?
I don't think it's a good idea, but I think that car dealerships did something similar when they decided to do 60 month and then 72 month loans, and it
All it
sucks.
does is increase the price, though. So
It,
when they only did 15 or 20-year mortgages, as soon as they boosted up to 30-year mortgages, then what
it's
happened? The prices of
it's
homes went up.
it's terrible, and it's going to make interest like just it's going to do three things. It's going to make it more difficult for buyers because they're going to have to pay a lot more interest over the life of the loan, but it's going to make the bonds or the actual mortgage bonds more attractive to people because they actually make more and interest over time. And then but it's also going to make things more affordable, and unfortunately that's going to be a solution that's going to be, I think, pitched to us in the next 1 to 3 years. And I think there's going to be an uproar, but people are going to eventually accept it. And it's my prediction that, 5 years from now, 40-year mortgages will be very common. And it's just going to be very unfortunate for people.
They've tried 40-year mortgages since I've been a real estate agent 3 times, and they've never stuck. They never stuck.
I just have a feeling I think it's going to stick around.
If these home prices don't drop, they will.
Yeah, exactly. If the prices don't drop, they will, because that's the only, because I mean, we're going what, $2,500 a month in Phoenix right now. If it's a 40-year mortgage, drops to 17 or 1,800, that immediately brings in a ton more people that can actually afford it where they should. Now, should they be buying? That's another problem. But if that brings it down to $1,800 a month, I don't think everyday people will look at the amount of interest they're going to pay over time. I think they're just going to look at that 1,800 number and be like, I'll do it. But unfortunately, it's up to people like you and I to educate them to not do it. But I think a lot of people are going to go for it.
Yeah. So Dave, I talked about this on Bigger Pockets. I always want to call it Deeper Pockets. I don't know why, but Bigger Pockets. But Dave Ramsey's is like, if you can't buy a home with a 15-year mortgage, you shouldn't own one.
With 20% down.
Yeah, 15-year mortgage, 20% down.
No credit, and you have to have like 6-month reserve.
Yeah, you shouldn't own. You should never have a credit card. You should never have anything on your credit report, but buy a house. You can't let me. Javier, can you buy a house if you've never had anything on your credit report?
No.
No. Having no credit whatsoever is actually worse than having bad credit, because then you can fix it. Yeah.
Yeah, Dave is but then of course his biggest moneymaker is his agent referral service, right? So that's like a whole nother conspiracy there. So
yeah, well, he's a
he
grifter. He's a grifter. I'm sorry.
Whoa.
Anybody that is a fan of his, I'm sorry, he's a grifter. Dan T says, Kristina, your video Build to Rent is great. I have tweeted it to some representatives in California and requested for their attention. I appreciate that. Matter of fact, that video itself about that last one I put out on Wednesday was actually given to me by a subscriber. They sent it to me and they said, what do you think about this? And I was hot mad. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm breaking this thing down one by one. I took the whole video down and broke it down and had my commentary on it. I enjoyed getting that done because I really I love the pull back the curtain kind of thing. Like, you like the Wizard of Oz, you pull back the curtain, it's just this pathetic old man. Well, we pull back the curtain and we see nothing but old men that have Vanguard on their polo shirts and BlackRock and big investment firms on their shirts. They're not pathetic. They're just jerks. Oh, living in Omaha, says David. I think that the capital gain tax incentive holiday is if an investor sells to an owner-occupant, they don't get paid capital gains tax. Ooh, that would be awesome. So what he's saying is that, like, for investors, when they have equity in a home, and instead of like pulling that money out, usually they take that equity and buy another property. Instead of that happening, if you sell it to a person instead of another investment company, you wouldn't have to pay those capital gains taxes. What do you think about that?
I don't think that's a good idea. I think we don't. Maybe if we cap the amount of money they make, but that I can see anytime we give them an inch, they take a mile. I can see people taking advantage of that by, okay, we don't have to pay capital gains, so let's actually increase the price. So that way, we can make a little more money off everything else. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if I'm understanding that correctly. He's saying that it's the idea that if an investor owns a place, they can sell it to an actual owner occupant and not pay capital gains, as opposed to paying what 35% or something, right?
Right.
That I don't think will motivate more investors to sell. I think that will make investors take advantage of the situation and make more money off people. They're going to be buying these houses for that intention to sell
Mhm.
to owner occupant houses, and they're going to buy them, hold them, and then sell them intentionally. I don't see that. I don't think we should give investors more outs.
Hmm.
We
Okay.
shouldn't.
Yeah,
What do
I
you
do think
think?
the increase supply right now, I think it's something at least to try. Like I'm not saying for forever. Like what if we had like a holiday, like a 6-month holiday during the peak of selling season. So like the beginning of spring break all the way to the end of August would be a break for capital gains investors to sell their properties.
Maybe I think a day of a holidays would be good for maybe it's someone who's looking to sell their house and buy another one. And that's an actual owner occupant selling to another owner occupant and keeping it within owner occupancy and giving
Hmm.
those people either some kind of credit or some kind of like, I don't know, something,
Oh, I
where
thought sellers should have gotten a seller's credit. Like,
something, yeah,
yeah,
100%.
to
They keep their rate low. That way
hmm
they can continue to keep a lower rate and we can incentivize people to actually move up because we need more move up buyers,
right. So
yeah,
what if they could take? I mean, this is a thought. This is like dreaming. What if they could take their current mortgage rate into the next house?
that'd be great.
Yeah, yeah. Because they've already been a proven buyer, right? They're going to pay their mortgage. They've lived in that house for 10 years. What if they could to get to take their rate?
That's
Take
an
their rate,
interesting idea. Then at this point, we're not pre-qualifying people for houses. We're pre-qualifying people for the actual their situation. If it's
right?
a mortgage is like giving a mortgage to as you as a person. As long as you live in a house, I will give you this interest rate, and you will pay me this much or something. I don't know. Yeah, we are talking a lot of land, unfortunately, but
Yeah, I know, dreaming. No, we don't rule the world. So, Clifton has a question. Says, I moved away from buying a Clayton home and found a builder that can give me the same floor plan for $70,000 less. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah. Manufactured housing has gotten extremely expensive, mostly because they weren't free from having to pay the increase in prices for building materials. So they pass that on to the buyers. I will say this though, they were the first ones to actually say once the building materials went back to like normal prices, they were like, "Hey, we can actually drop our prices per square foot because we're able to get our building materials for a little less." I don't know if Clayton did, but a good portion of the manufactured home business did that. Yep. What is this hashtag? You have a hashtag Eddie is innocent. What is that?
let's
Oh,
just
just because
say
I
let's just say I saw how Eddie's innocent, how he's treated behind the scenes, and I have to say there is a movement, a guerrilla underground movement, if you will, of people who are on Eddie's side and think that it's about time that Eddie takes over. I think it should. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
You want to know something really funny about Eddie? Everybody needs to hold Eddie accountable of this. So Eddie just signed up for real estate school.
Wow,
I
to be a
know, I
realtor.
know. He's going to be a real tour. So maybe I can even actually have him as a guest. He said absolutely not.
There you go.
He said absolutely not. But yeah,
Hashtag make Eddie a realtor again. Come on.
real tour. Say it right because I get yelled at if I say realtor.
Realtor. Realtor.
Real tour. Real tour. All right, we got some questions coming in, Eddie. If you can pull those up on the screen, I greatly appreciate it. Eddie is he's my husband, but he's also the producer in the background. So he's the one that gets to pull up the questions while we sit here and yammer. Eddie's good. Yep. Oh, we missed some questions, Eddie. Eddie, you're skipping the question. he's wanting to hit like, here we go. I'm gonna do it. Here we go. All right. Question: if tons of affordable homes somehow became available, do you think that investors would buy them before we could?
100%.
1000%. Absolutely. Oh yeah, they're
Yep.
foaming at the mouth for those.
Yeah, they will. Any chance for them, especially if a good area, they're going to be able to. Yeah, that's a problem, unfortunately.
They don't
Um,
mind paying over either. Like if there is something available in a hot area that's in the affordable range, they're like, "Oh, sign me up." And they will pay over. And
yeah,
I don't blame this. Like sometimes people are like, well, you know what? I just want to make sure that I sell to an owner occupant and not to a corporate investor. If somebody came up to me and said, I'm going to buy your house for market value, and I'm going to give you an additional $20,000 to walk away from it, or you can accept this person with an FHA loan that is barely scraping by. I'm sorry. I mean, I love people, but like this is my income. This is my family. I don't fault a seller for taking $20,000 extra. I mean, I don't think that's cold hearted. This is people's financial futures, $20,000 is a lot to say, well, you know what? I'd rather give it to the other person. I don't know. I don't blame them. JK says, what do you think about subsidizing builders with taxpayer money to build more subdivisions at 300K homes? So I believe in tax incentives, and there's also properties that builders could build on that the counties and areas already own. Biden administration, beginning of almost 2 years ago, was working with a lot of cities for their affordability, turning like multifamily areas that are zoned and turning them into single family and multifamily housing, that's empty lots basically. There's always a way to give incentives to make builders do what you want them to do. What do you say, Javi?
As long as it's only redeemable by the builder if it sells to an owner occupant, then it makes sense.
Correct. Yeah. Not like 20%. Don't say, oh, well, 20% can go to investors. No, the whole darn neighborhood has to go to owner occupants. That's what I say. Eddie's making things happen. Yes. Are you okay, Javier? Are you good on time?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm looking at someone asked a question. I think it's really good. Someone, $10 super chat.
Eddie Royale has a question. I haven't seen him in a while. Thank you so much for popping in. $9.99 super chat. It says, my brother is looking for the first time new builder, and Wells Fargo came back and said needed $50K more. Take them over $450,000 with a 7% rate. What could they do?
Saying the appraisal came in $50,000 above where they were. Wait, no, or because if the appraisal comes in above value, then that's the buyer's benefit. It's not the seller's.
Correct.
So that Wells Fargo needed $50K more. That means it underappraised, right?
Yeah, either it underappraised or the builder. Like sometimes builders renegotiated contracts. I mean, that happened during the pandemic. Where
I think that's the case then.
Yeah, we gotta get some more to this story, because the bank can't tell them that they have to pay $50,000 more for a house unless there was some other reason, like the house didn't appraise for $400,000, and it's short.
Looks like Eddie's innocent is catching on, Smallhorn. I don't know what he's innocent of, but he's innocent.
And he's a good guy. He's always innocent. Lawnmower says, back. He's back. He's my commonologist. Lawnmower is. This is back. I was on the phone. I swear headhunters are just as bad as the people that want to buy your house and the car warranty people. In the real estate industry, it's the people that are in insurance. They want our health insurance so bad. We get about 50.
I've been getting so many messages about like people sign me up for like deals, like, oh, I have this deal in North Carolina, would you like to? I'm like, well, I don't even know who you are. Or they message me, do you have any clients looking to, and it's obviously they're mass texting all the agents.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have any deals or anyone looking to sell cash or something? It's so crazy.
I know. I just ignore them. Joseph says, question, do you have any advice or feedback when it comes to buying a condo or duplex as a first-time home buyer? Javi?
First off, there's nothing wrong with buying a condo or duplex. Congratulations, but you have to be aware of what you're buying. You know that I think a condo, please correct me if I'm wrong, you own the space within the unit and a part of the entire area. And please correct me if I'm wrong. So be aware that your value might not increase as much as a regular home or a townhome, but no one should take that joy of the fact that you own it away from you. So congratulations, and know that you know what you're buying into, know what you're owning, and if you're being promised something much greater than that, then have realistic expectations.
I think
we don't know what he's innocent of, but he's innocent.
Right under that comment, Eddie, there was a question from Wes, if you could put it up on the screen. There's a question, Kristina, thinking of buying a rental. Would you manage or let a management firm handle it? What would you do, Javi? I know I haven't answered this.
Depends on your style. If like it, like if I like me personally, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with the calls late at night. So I would allow had a management firm handle it. However, if the profits is so tight and it doesn't make sense to hire someone, I would just do it myself. So it's really depending on your personal situation, how busy you are, if you have the patience for it or not, and what your profit looks like.
I have control issues, and those
I know your
properties,
answer.
yeah, those properties are my investment, and I want to babysit them. So I Eddie and I manage our own properties. There's no way that I would let a management company do it, because I've seen some nightmare stories of people that hire management companies, and they come back, 3 years later, because they've been paying those fees to the management company, and they walk into their rental houses because they thought it was being taken care of, and everything is like things they had paid for, like painting, and they did like where they painted over the light switches and stuff, and they paid them
Yep.
thousands of dollars, and they did a garbage job, or a roof being replaced, and they paid for a roof being replaced, but only a section of it was replaced. I
Yeah.
I sometimes, I'm not saying all management companies do this, but a good portion of them have gotten themselves in a lot of trouble because they do a really crummy job. And
Yeah.
if it's me and my money and my investment, I'm going to manage it. I want to know what's going on. I like the fact that my renters can contact my husband or I whenever there's a problem. They mostly contact Eddie, if I'm going to be honest, but we just like, and we live right down the road from everything that we own. Like it's not like 1,000
I
miles
would
away.
also call Eddie, not you.
Yeah, we're really nice to our renters too. They get a steal. They're paying so under market value. They love us. If you guys have any questions, please make sure you put in the word question, and then we'll put it up on the screen here, like Stephanie has. It says, "Has the tiny home market increased considerably?" Yes, yeah. So when I started talking about tiny homes in 2019, it was still kind of on the fringe, but more and more people are finding out that you can get a decent piece of property in a rural area and have a fantastic life without necessarily being a part of like the hamster wheel, I guess, of owning. And it is a great way to basically step into the real estate game. Not everybody, just like not everybody's meant to rent, or not everybody's going to be suited for building tiny homes. At one point, people were saying, "Oh, that'd be great for the people on fixed incomes." No, it's not. People that live in tiny homes, a lot of times the bedrooms are upstairs. Like you're gonna put your 75-year-old grandma on a ladder to go to bed at night? No. Kristina says no. I still say that small home building needs to come back. It doesn't need to be, a 2,000 square foot home. I mean, my first house was 1,500 square feet, and even if it was 1,200, there was lots of homes around Orlando at one time that were 1,100 or 1,200 square feet, and they were perfectly fine. You can have a 2-bedroom house. Like a lot of millennials would be totally tickled to have their own home, even if it was just 2 bedrooms. I think that they need to bring that kind of floor plan back again. Question: what does it mean when you ask the seller to buy down the interest rate? What does that mean, Javi?
So that means you're gonna get seller's concessions, which is a fixed amount of money. Whether sometimes it's a percentage. So let's say you get 3% on a $500,000 house, that would be about 15,000. So those concessions amounts can be used to buy, basically do what you want with them. A lot of times people use them to pay your closing costs. So let's say your closing costs are 10,000. If you got 15,000, there's an additional $5,000 left. So what do you do with it? Well, you can use it as long as your contract states, which I believe most states do, that you can use it for any costs associated with the closing of the house. So you can have a rate buy down, which is basically you're giving the lender a certain amount of money to get a lower rate. You give them whatever $5,000 is worth for them, and that they'll have a certain number that they buy your rate down for. If you wanted to, I guess you could just apply the entire amount to buy down your rate and then pay your own closing costs out of your pocket. But it's about the same thing if you just do it the way I described it first.
So what they say, like 6 on one side and half a dozen on the other.
Yeah,
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
exactly.
DJ Plast says when the boys came home from World War II, the government basically covered the loans to build starter homes across the country. This is where the first time home buyers originate. This is 1000% true. And did you know that the majority of those homes built for those soldiers when they came back home, they were modular homes? The companies would come through, they basically were pouring the same exact foundation all the way down. They were building about 57 homes a day because they pour the same foundation, the same plumbing all the way down, and then they just come in with the houses and lay it right on top. Those homes are still standing today. One of the most popular ones is in California, and those houses, do you know how much they are today? Do you know how much they are today?
800,000 plus.
Yeah, they're over $1 million. Over $1 million.
Oh wow.
Yep. Yeah, the cheapest ones were in the high 800s, but they're averaging around $1 million.
I know Wesley. He's
Yep.
he's a fellow. He goes on my live stream too. What's up, Wes?
Nice to see you, Wesley. He probably jumped on here because he saw you on here. I hear that Shaggy's doing a remake. It Wasn't Me featuring Eddie. CE Rose. Yep. It wasn't me. V-Man says in Salt Lake City, they're building tiny homes for the less homeless to help out. If each state did this for the first time home buyers building smaller 3-bedroom, 2-bath communities, would this work? It wouldn't hurt. That's for sure. It isn't the end all be all solution. There's multiple facets of this problem that need to be solved. But anybody, it doesn't matter. And this is always becomes one of those things like, oh, it's only happening in blah, blah kinds of states. It doesn't matter if you're in a blue state. It doesn't matter if you're in a red state. Homelessness has increased across the United States. There's a good portion of people, and I featured this in a video, of people that have jobs. They are working. They are working Americans that get up out of their car because that's the only place they can live. They go into their job to get dressed. They're taking baths within the sink of their job and then going to work. That's a problem. When people can't find anything for them to live in and they're working 2 jobs, that's an issue. That's a real problem. And that's why there's more homelessness across the United States. That's why you're seeing more tent cities. That's why you're seeing overpasses filled with homelessness. We have a problem and we're not addressing it.
Well said.
We're not addressing it. And like every time that somebody says, well, that's only happening in blue cities, I'm like, it's happening I live in a red state. It's happening here. It's happening here. So that isn't a solution. You're just throwing blame around. We need to stop like with I pick a side and then blame the other. We got to start working together to have some more solutions.
Last I check, corporations have Republicans and Democrats in their pockets. It's a corporations versus the everyday man problem.
That's exactly right. You hit it right on the head. It's the people, the 1% that like own and run the whole 9 yards. When they create all these fights of red and blue against one another, that's on purpose. So we don't get together and fight against them. They're a little worried about us getting all on the same page because then what are they going to do? It's kind of like, they're just sitting there, let them eat cake. They're sitting there in their ivory towers and telling us to go let them eat cake. Yeah. And we're not talking about mom and pop investors that have a couple of houses. No, we're talking about the big corporations like, like there's
Progress Residential.
Tricon.
You talk about big one. Like I'm talking about individual. Like Progress Residential is a massive one. Actually, are you familiar? Open Doors actually buying properties again.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're back. They're back buying properties. There's people. First of all, people are selling to them a lot cheaper, but they're back and they're starting to make their stock went up and they're starting to buy more houses. I mean, give Zillow some time. They're going to be buying houses again too.
Yeah, that's why they kept saying, "Oh, investors are stop buying houses," because they want people to say, "Well, see, they're not buying, so why would we buy?" It was all an illusion, smoke and mirrors. Gracie says, "What do you think of tiny homes, and how hard are they to insure with a 399 square foot home footage?" I know this isn't your thing, Hav, right?
Go for it. Do your thing.
Yeah. Okay, so I love a tiny home. I think they're fantastic. There's two ways you can do a tiny home: ones that are on foundations and the ones that are on wheels. It doesn't matter if it is on foundation or on wheels, it's going to be very difficult to insure. The only one that I know that does insurance is Lloyd's of London, and they're expensive. It's very expensive. I actually have a friend that lives here in the area that actually turned a shed into a tiny home. She's lived in it for, I don't know, last 5 years. And she had the hardest time getting insurance. She had to let it go. I mean, this woman's on a fixed income. She took her last bit of retirement to build this house for herself. And the insurance is too high. She can't afford it. And it's a little shed house, and it's all up to code. I mean, it has everything in it, but it was very difficult for her to get insurance on it. So she let it go, and flood insurance too. Yep. Kristina Smallhorn is the princess of real estate analysis. Spectacular information, straightforward approach, kind-hearted to people who need to know what to do in times like these. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you. Question for Javier. Do you see any new developments in your area for senior housing needs? Do you see that? Really?
I mean, we have two main cities in Phoenix. It's called Sun City and Sun City West. That's just retirement communities. So I mean, I'm sure they're building houses there way far out west, but the new builds are more focused towards the suckers, which are the first time home buyers. And I mean suckers, I mean they're the ones that are actually going. They're signing up for they're like fighting for them, etc. I think our retirement community are a little more like in tune with things, so they won't go overpay for houses because it's brand new. Our Sun City, we have a lot of 40, 50-year-old houses that are all populated and they are very well taken care of. It's so crazy. Every time you drive by Sun City, once again, the retirement city, they older houses are so well maintained. The grass is cut. They take care of their houses really well.
My parents' house is pristine, and every time we ever moved out of a house, like people are like, "Did anybody ever live there?" And I'm like, "Oh, we only slept there. We weren't allowed in the house." We were like, as kids, they were like, we got up in the morning, mom and said, "Get out of the house. I got to clean it." There was never a speck of dust in my parents' house. And, I just think that's just the way they grew up, mom, mom didn't let anything get dirty. Not ever. Kristina's not the same.
So let's do a tour of your place.
Oh, it's clean. There's no doubt it's clean. It's just messy. I'm a messy person. I leave stuff on everything. It is clean though. Question: banks have 5% interest rates. If you're making high yield on a bank savings, I say $1,500 a month. Should you use this to rent or to use the savings to buy? Buy, I would mean losing the interest.
So I think what he's asking is right now he has a big chunk of money in the bank. He's making about $1,500 money. Should he take it out to buy a house or should he continue to make $1,500 a month? This is, I think, the question. Is that what you got?
Yeah. Now that you broke it down, because I was kind of lost there for a minute. Thank you.
Yeah, I think because he's saying interest rates, I think he's talking about the interest he's making on his cash funds.
Gotcha.
And high yield interest on big savings. Mm-hmm. So he's saying if he should take it out and use the savings to buy, which means losing that $1,500 a month, or should he keep earning?
Yeah.
What do you think? I asked you first.
No, it's my show. You have to answer.
I'll dance. That's dude. Honestly, that's such a loaded question. Do you have any other savings other than this chunk of money? Right. How much is this chunk of money? What is your cost of living over there right now? What is, there's just so much more limits. Let's just assume you have if you have that much money that you're making $1,500 a month, which I think we could figure out what it is based off your interest yield, but that's going to require some high end math. I don't think I'll do it. I bet I can ask my wife and she'll do it. She's a really good college, really loves math. But anyways, there's so much more layers. If you do have a separate 1 year saving fund that's separate from this, $1,500 isn't too great of a return. It's really based off your personal goals. If you have a personal desire to own a property that's not investment fueled, just your personal, you have that desire, then do it. But know that it's not going to be the best investment. Do it because you want to. You're going to lose out on $1,500 a month. You might go down to $600 or $500, but you're doing it because you want to do it, not because of the investment portion of it.
Yeah.
That's my best question.
Every time somebody asks me something like this, is that I it's very difficult for me to know what your personal financial situation is. You're just giving me one tiny facet of so many different things. The best thing for me to tell you to do is either talk to a lender or talk to a personal or a accountant, so they can go over your personal finances, so they can tell you, like, is this going to meet your goals? That, like, I can't give you an answer, straight answer on that. I wish I
Good question.
Yeah, it's a great question. It is.
If I sign up for the $50 membership, do I get an hour consultation? Does that have to be home ownership, or could it be about anything?
It can be about anything.
Great.
Yeah. Dinner recipes for two says, yeah, how much an average will 3 points cost? Be the cost of the house. It would depend on that.
Yeah. So a point is defined as a percentage of the house price. And lenders get basically a sheet every day where it says this is the interest rate. This is the interest rate, like by 0.15% less. With this is the price. This is 0.25 less. So every day it's so different. There's no way of knowing how much money that would save you or how much lower your interest would be. So you have to get a sheet from a lender, which I think most of them would give you if you ask.
Yeah. Yep. They do. My good friend Ryan Lusa is always up on that. Yep. Question: what modular home companies would you recommend in northern Louisiana to build in Monroe and Vicksburg? In North, I honest to God, I'm being completely frank with you. I do not know of any modular home companies in northern Louisiana. I would, if I were you, there's a lot of modular home companies in Texas. I would call out to them, find out, like, look at their floor plans, see what they have, look at their online recommendations, and see what they have that they can help you. Now, there is just email me. Yeah, go ahead and email me. Go to my website at kristinasmallhorn.com, fill out the consultation or referral form, and put in the notes section that you were looking for modular home companies in northern Louisiana. And I'll email you back, because I just can't think of anybody right at the top of my head, but I will. Oh, look, Javier decided to be a new member. Thank you, Javi, because Javier used to be a member. But
I just stopped it a month ago, 2 months ago.
Yeah, he broke up with me.
That was just 2 months ago. I was paying you forever.
He broke up with me.
Oh, God.
Now he's not.
Let's not turn this around. Let's not turn this away from the amount of pain that you cause Eddie, because I heard how he gets treated. And she was like, "This tea is too cold," and she threw it at him.
Oh yeah,
I saw
that was like no wire hangers,
Like
I
asked this to be 98 degrees, and this is at least 92. Get this, give me it. And he was like, "Yes,
yeah.
sorry."
Yeah, with my big mug. You didn't give me the big enough mug. All right, somebody has a question. It says, should I rent a home or buy a 40-foot RV? Oh, that depends on what you're, again, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Do you want to travel the whole United States, or do you want to stay put? I couldn't do it. I saw my parents did that years ago. So they bought an RV, and they decided they were going to travel the world. They were going to do it for years. And about a year and a couple months later, they were like, you know what? I think it's time for us to go back and buy a house. They had enough of each other.
Everyone has that idea until it's just like anything. Like everyone always has, let's do this, let's do that. And then they do it. And they're like, let's go back.
Yeah, that wasn't
the grass is always greener on the other side.
Yeah, until you find out that's all full of weeds. It may have been green, but it was weeds. Question: is there any time anywhere in Phoenix that there are new build rentals or small home sales?
Small new home sales or new build rentals? There's new build rentals, I believe, all over. Every major city has them now. You just have to kind of drive around. Small new home sales, I mean, every builder has so there's this great website. I don't remember the name of it. I'll look it up. That basically you can just look up and start narrowing down which builders you like based off what price point. So I
Mhm.
would just suggest using that as a tool. I'm looking it up right now. It's like New Property Home Source or something like that.
Yeah, and isn't one of the build to rents that are really big there is like Christopher or something? Christopher.
That's one of them. There's a bunch of them, honestly.
Yeah, but that one's really popular. They built a few. Christopher Morris, maybe?
Yeah,
Christopher.
that sounds right.
Yeah.
Newhomesourceprofessional.com. Try that. It's
Mhm.
literally you can go and make a new home search and find the builders that fit your need. Not sponsored.
What's y'all's housing forecast for 2024?
What?
I wish I had a crystal. Wait, I do have a crystal ball. I bought a house in November last year, and although Zillow's estimates suggest that I appreciated 2 to 3%, recent comps say it's depreciated 4 to 5%.
Stop looking at future.
Zillow. Yeah, don't look at Zillow. Zillow is not a good indication of what's really going on in your market. And even though you're saying that the comps in your area have dropped or depreciated, that may not be even a true reflection unless you are a real estate agent and you can pull up the exact comps, or you're an appraiser that can pull up exact comps. I wouldn't put too much into that. I would even if you are not even thinking about selling your house, or you're not even thinking about buying a house, stop looking at all that stuff, because all you're going to do is make yourself sick. Because it's kind of like looking at a stock market. You bought a stock for $1, and then one day your stock is at 50% less, and you're like, oh my gosh. Well, you didn't miss that dollar in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And then 10 years down the road, that dollar that you invested in the stock market is now worth $100, and you're like, thank God I didn't sell that stock when it went down 50%,
Well, yeah. Well, it's not even the example. It's like they thought about making $1. They thought they put an imaginary dollar in, and they're tracking that. But you're looking at your real estate as a financial investment, and the reality is it's no longer a solid investment. Get that through your guys' heads. Real estate is not a massive, easy investment anymore. It's going to be difficult, long process. So the reason you're buying a house should not be based off of investment purposes. It's now a personal decision that you're making for yourself and your family. I want to own because I don't want a landlord. I want to own because I want a piece of property in the United States of America to belong to me. That's the main motivation of buying now. It is no longer, oh, if I buy this, I sell this in 10 years, I can make 100K, or I can turn this into a rental, make some money, invest it's going to take a long time, because it's been so easy to make money off real estate forever. I think it's going to take people time to process that.
I was just giving an example, Johnny. I know a stock for $1, a lot of lots.
There's a lot of stocks for $1.
There's penny stocks out there. You can get a stock for a penny. Stephanie says, "What is Miami doing right now? They have reduced their homeless to 250 people. Last I heard, they were like." They need housing, and they need it now. Miami-Dade awarded $21 million in federal grant to fight homelessness. Well, there you go. That's what they're doing. They got federal money. Yep. If we don't find permanent housing that we own, we can't move people out of the shelters and out of the streets. Currently, there's an estimated 1,056 unsheltered homeless people in Miami, and about 2,400 living in shelters. So, yeah, I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know.
And then you can't even really trust. I don't know. It's just you have to go visually look. 250 people. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of crazy, right? Only 250 people are homeless.
Yeah.
Entire Miami. Miami's a massive city.
Yeah. Anytime whenever these I would always be cautious whenever people start talking in the affordable housing sector. I've been around for a little while, and I've heard a lot of people talk, and a good portion of the people that are talking about, doing all these things to help with the affordability issue and help homelessness are the same people that caused the problem in the first place. It's the call is coming from inside the house. And so maybe we shouldn't be listening to the people that say they have the solutions for this kind of thing, because usually they're the ones that have been stopping it from all that happening all these years. Yeah. So, all right. Living in Omaha says, are either of you going to Vid Summit this year? Will you be at Vid Summit this year, Javier?
I will be at Vid Summit with Smallhorn.
I will be there. I'm always there. I'm always there.
Are the tickets already out?
Yeah, you can probably, yeah, they've been out since last year. Yep.
Really?
And it'll be in October, I believe, beginning of October. All right, everybody, listen, we are at 1 hour and 15 minutes. We're going to go ahead and tie this up. I'm just going to tell you guys, if you need me and you need to get a hold of me, just go to my website at KristinaSmallhorn.com. Go ahead and hit one of those pink buttons and fill out the referral form, and make sure you leave your phone number. In order for me to get a hold of you, I have to be able to call you and talk to you on the phone. That's my favorite thing to do, is just flap my lips and talk, and I'm there to listen too. So go ahead and fill out that referral form. I'll get you a real estate agent in your area. If you want to listen to this afterwards, I actually have a podcast now. I've been telling everybody about that. Make sure you go and give me a little 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Anywhere you get your podcast, I am there. I appreciate every single one of you. And I appreciate you, Javier, for coming in here. If anybody wants to get a hold of you, how can they do that, my friend?
You know what? I do lives once or twice a week as well. So just head over there, hit subscribe, and you'll be notified when I go live. And then, yeah. And then we'll chat in our lives, just like you guys do here.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Javier, it's right there. I'm glad he's back in the saddle again. I'm glad to see you.
Look at this thumb. Look at that. Look at how attractive I look in that 6th thumbnail. That's totally natural, by the way. My chin is actually that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at that, the defined chin. That's a chin right there.
You're amazing.
And don't forget, Eddie is innocent. Whatever it is he is completely innocent. And I think Eddie, just let him go. I've seen him, the way he gets treated, and I think we need justice. I need justice for Eddie. I think is the right one. # justice for Eddie.
Eddie will tell you how incredibly mistreated he is on a regular basis. He's in a house of 3 women,
Oh, man.
Yeah. So anyways, thank you so much, Javier. I appreciate you coming out here.
See you guys.
It's great to see you again. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for popping in. And thank you so much to our moderators who always kept this moderation great. We never have any weirdness going on in the comment section. And I also want to thank all of our super chatters today that help to support the channel. I'm always very grateful to every single one of you. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody. You gonna sing? Am I
done already? Oh, it's still live?
Yeah, we're still live. You gotta dance. Oh, you're gonna do that? You're gonna do a little